Traditional leaders met with Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa. Some of the concerns raised include local communities benefiting from minerals found in rural areas, politicians to stop interfering in the affairs of royal families for their own selfish interests. Now, the three-day traditional leaders imbizo was held in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg last week, and the minister joins us now to talk to us about some of the key issues that came out from that and more. Minister, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. So one of the key issues, right, when you look at some of the outcomes is the one issue that repeatedly plays itself out. This is how, you know, government needs to begin to harmonize relations between yourselves and traditional leaders as well as municipal structures. Given the tensions that we often see play out, how then are you going to do this going forward?
Good evening, Bongiwe, and the viewers of SABC. Indeed, our department, CoGTA, as a cooperative governance, is playing a crucial role between the three spheres of government, but also between the traditional leaders and the government. More the local government, because all traditional leaders are found in the local government space. The white paper review is going to zoom in on making the traditional leaders to play a meaningful role, not as spectators in the municipal level, but as active participants at the council level and the exco level. These are the recommendations which will emerge in March next year when we conclude this process.
Yeah. Pardon me, right on that point, before we lose it, I just want to understand what kind of meaningful role they play. And I ask this against the backdrop of, for example, some of these, you know, leaders are in communities where there's a devastation, you know, there's unemployment, there's people who are hungry on a daily basis, but in some of the instances, we rarely see them going out to make a difference and thus possibly losing relevance with some of the locals?
Currently, Bongiwe, the traditional leaders have a limited representation in council, and they are not counting to the quorum. Their voice or their vote cannot change any decision. They are as good as spectators. Now, a revised white paper on local government must accord them full voting rights. They must be part of the quorum. They must be at an executive level where decisions are taken so that they shape the decisions that impact the communities they live. Mm-hmm. In other areas, they are not participating at all because they are spectators. They have no voting right. This is what we must change. If you want people to be part of contributing, do not make them visitors.
But do they need... Pardon me, do they need voting rights though? Do they need voting? And I ask this, fine, that's one side of the process, but do they need voting rights to attend to their own constituents that are hungry? You know, people who need even some of the, you know, life lessons, because in some of these instances we've seen in the past where they would become a moral authority as far as issues like GBV and all of that are concerned. So do they even need to only be in council to be seen?
In council, Bongiwe, they need the voting right. If you give the voting right to councillors, a voting right influences decisions. A project that is going to place A can be voted to go to place C. And if you deprive them a voting right, you just make them spectators. If you want a maximum participation and involvement, make them have equal right with councillors. The traditional institutions, Bongiwe, they don't change after 5 years. Councillors come and go. Most of the traditional leaders, if God have allowed them to live longer, they stay a longer period.
Yeah.
They can ensure the sustainability of projects as well as development. The further step they took, they engage mining companies to ensure that the development is driven to rural areas, and other companies in as far as ensuring that the development, there must be a redirection, Bongiwe.
Yeah.
More people are moving from rural to urban areas. In order to reverse this, development must be directed to rural areas so that people in the informal settlement who are staying closer to urban areas looking for job, they can start moving to rural areas because development is going to the rural areas.
So there's a flip side to that coin. And the flip side to that coin is that in some cases, the royal families themselves will not be getting along, and the tensions would play out, particularly maybe sometimes when you see succession, or even not even during succession periods, where we sometimes see them claiming that the other one is not a legitimate one, the other one is a legitimate one, and that could also stall development in some of these communities. So how then are you going to be dealing with that? Because this is a serious issue when some communities do speak to us.
We have agreed, Bongiwe, as you rightly know, last year in October, we formalized the Forum of the Majesties in South Africa, and we have agreed with all the kings that we are going to record the genealogies of the royal families so that it becomes recorded and know who is a successor in Kingdom A, Kingdom B, in order to avoid what we are seeing today. All the 9 provinces have also agreed through the National House that the recording of genealogies for the family that is in line in terms of the traditional leadership is going to be undertaken by the provincial government, and this will be a breakthrough to resolve contestations in terms of the succession, which in most cases is as a result of seeing the opportunities, even if people know who is the rightful successor to the throne.
Yeah, and how then will you deal with the issues in some cases that arise that some resource allocations aren't the same as others?
We have also engaged that matter for the first time. When the Minister of Finance was tabling the budget, for the first time he spoke about the allocation to upkeep the policies. As you rightly know, the King of the Zulu Nation is well catered for, even though it may not be fully well, but sufficiently catered for by the KwaZulu government. The other kings do not experience the same. Then we have agreed that at the national level, we are going to look at the upkeep of the policies as well as talk directly to issues of remuneration for all our kings to bring parity in between. And also, when it comes to traditional leaders, the handbook on tools of trade is looking at equity in terms of providing them with vehicles and all tools of trade to be equally throughout South Africa in order to close the gap that exists currently.
That would be, of course, an interesting one that we'll continue then to look at. But there is another story. I'm going to ask you just to change gears slightly, right? There's developments in Ditsobotla, and this is a municipality that has been struggling for so long, and you do have residents who are desperate and saying that, but why can't things just work? Because it does affect service delivery. Now, you sit with possible legal action from civil society, but at the same time, you do have a plea by the provincial government to then come in and be able to intervene. Will you?
Yes, Bomi, when the spheres of government respect each other. The national government cannot just override the provincial government or the municipality. The provincial government have made a request. Tomorrow morning, on Tuesday, I will be tabling before the Cabinet Committee a memorandum requesting the approval for the national government to intervene at Ditsobotla. The following Wednesday, next week, the memorandum will be tabled before the full cabinet, and I'm confident in these two stages we will receive the approval that we intervene from the Minister of Finance and Minister of CoGTA to bring stability in the Ditsobotla municipality, and the civil society that has raised their concern and have even gone to court. We are going to engage them. There will be no need of litigations because we all agree we need to bring stability and progress in that embattled Ditsobotla municipality.
Before I let you go, briefly, who is responsible for the mess there from the vantage point of national government?
The councillors that were elected are the ones who are directly responsible because they became irresponsible and have two mayors at one time, two MMs at one time, and that affected the full functionality of the municipality. When a municipality is unable to execute its duties, the law says the provincial government must intervene. The provincial government intervened, and all the efforts by the provincial government, they went down the drain until they said, National, can you please intervene? That is why tomorrow I'm taking the matter to Cabinet Committee for the national government to intervene.
All right, let's see then what happens there. But thank you so much for talking to us on these issues. And of course, we'll continue then to see what becomes the developments between yourself and the traditional leaders, as well as this issue of Ditsobotla. Thank you for your time. That was the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa.